guy, Connor Woodman, he has stopped putting traffic cones in the road to come and tell us why God allows evil.
This is day 3 of posting a video to YouTube every day for 365 days and seeing where I end up.
Day 3 of it? Nice. Go.
So if you're interested to see where this takes me, you might want to consider subscribing. Today I want to talk about why does God allow evil?
Okay.
But first I want to give you an analogy. If you think of an apple tree, somebody gifts you an apple tree in the summer and it's full of apples, it's beautiful, loads of leaves, nice and green.
Okay.
You plant it in your garden and you're very grateful for that apple tree. You say that person's good. Then the winter comes.
You say that person's good? The person that gave you an apple tree is good? I mean, not necessarily, but it's probably a good thing to give an apple tree. But that doesn't mean, like, the person is good. I mean, you know, whatever.
Loses all its leaves, and all of the fruit goes mouldy and falls off.
You wouldn't blame the guy that gave you the apple tree, right?
On the tree, and they're kind of mouldy on the tree. It just looks disgusting.
You wouldn't steal a car.
And if not, they fall on the ground and there's just kind of a pile of rotten apples, completely dead and barren. Oh. You don't say that apple tree is evil or the person that gave it to you hates you and it's evil.
Didn't Jesus make a parable about this in the Bible already? Wasn't that a thing? Like, although I think maybe Christians misinterpret it sometime, but wasn't it the fig tree out of season and he like yells at the fig tree?
They're evil because they've give you a barren apple tree that doesn't produce fruit.
Right.
No.
But nobody would do that because it's in the winter. Right. Because that's not the season that the apple tree, which has evolved to live on this planet, that's not when they fruit. So God kills kids, like, you know, for no reason at all. Not because of like a seasonal predictor that we could, you know, it's not like some kids die in hurricanes, which is true, right? Some kids die from natural disasters or freak accidents or like other stuff. But the really fucked up thing, if God is real, which he's not, is that kids die of like diseases that they're born with, right? Like that's pretty fucked up. If you're a God that doesn't allow evil, then I mean that shouldn't be allowed. And it certainly isn't something that any of us would choose because we love our kids, right? And so you have to reconcile that, and you're not capable of it because this isn't an apt analogy. Kids don't die in season, you know? There's not like the purge for kids and they give them like fucking whooping cough.
No, because you know that the apple tree has a plan. It's going to come back next year.
The apple tree doesn't have a plan. The apple tree is an organism that lives, and it could totally just die. I have an apple tree in my backyard, and it's like half dead because some ants live in it, but it's their home, man. I can't undo that. I'm going to let them have that apple tree, but sometimes it fruits.
You have faith that that's going to happen, and God works in exactly the same way.
As an apple tree, he doesn't. He doesn't do that. Apple trees are way more predictable, provable, and reliable than any god that any person has ever suggested exists. Are you kidding? That's not true.
So why does God allow evil? And if you think about this, you can't actually have good without evil. They're both part of the same...
I disagree.
Thing. It's like two sides of a coin. You can't have the head of a coin without the tail of a coin.
This is like fucking Baby's first like pop song or something. You can't appreciate the day without a little rain or something. Like, this is stupid. Yes, you can. If every day was sunny, you'd be like, this shit's awesome. The weather has never been a problem for me. Totally fine.
And I kind of realised this the other day.
Did you?
I've been listening to the audiobook of a really controversial book called The Malleus Maleficarum, and it's kind of up there with Hitler's Mein Kampf book, you know, very controversial.
Cool.
And it's the book they used, it translates to the witch hammer they used during the witch trials. So for hundreds of years they used this to, you know, deal with witches. And I
deal with witches?
Just find it interesting. If you go for the most controversial book, everything else is like plain sailing. So in reading this book, it said there are 3 prerequisites for witchcraft: a witch, the aid of the devil, and the permission of God. And it took me ages to understand why God would give permission to the devil and this witch to do whatever they're doing, if you believe in witchcraft.
Do you believe in witches? Do you see what, like... So you've walked yourself into a position where you're like, I don't know, I think the people who are, like, burning witches, which is literally just uppity women, basically. People who are burning witches might be onto something. You know what I mean? Like, this is where you've walked yourself just by being a believer in this stupid fucking faith. Ugh! Why are people like this? Like, I'm right. I've been right about this religion. It rots brains. I will continue to be correct about this until my dying days. This rots human brains. We should not, as a society, tolerate Christianity to the extent that we do. It should be something as laughable as, witchcraft and shit. We should be like, oh, okay.
What is wrong with salami?
You're a Christian? Yikes. Cool, go do that alone. But what do we burn apart from witches? Weed and stuff? Incense?
But even if you don't, you look at the evil in the world and you go, well, if I believe in an almighty God,
which I don't.
He's let that happen.
Yeah.
So there is permission of God. So the witchcraft thing is beside the point, but you see evil in the world and you have hardship in your life and you think, why would a good God allow that to happen?
Well, I have an easy answer. I mean, there's two answers. If God exists, it's not a good God because it's hiding it hides the evidence of its existence, and then it created evil, and it created suffering, and it created hell, which is eternal suffering.
Go.
Is it a God of suffering? Is it a pernicious, evil, eldritch God that only thrives and can consume sapient suffering? Sounds like we should find out where it's at and kill it. And then 2, there is no God because there is no evidence for it. Like, the only answer, if God exists in the way that the Christians describe it, it has hidden itself from us on purpose, which makes it quite evil. Like, everything that they report, quite evil. The only way it wouldn't be an evil God is if it didn't have the power set that Christians claim it does, like omniscience, omnipotence. I mean, it could still be evil, but like maybe you could say that the God is like, and I don't know why Christians don't like tone it down. I guess maybe because it means that it's not really a God worth following, that like God can't know everything and it's just, it's just the creator, man. Like He's fallible. Like the Greeks at least were like, yeah, I don't know, gods are fuckos. You never really know what's going on with them weirdos.
And if you think about it, the only growth that happens is during these hard times. So
the only growth?
Apple tree produces beautiful apples.
In the easiest time.
But there has to be a time when there's nothing on the tree. It looks basically like it's dead. But the roots are forming and they're preparing for next year. And it's the same, I grow...
But that's only because they've evolved to do that on a planet with seasons. If it was always spring, they wouldn't have to go through this cycle and could be constantly fruiting trees. Like, we could just have that. Huh?
Dahlias at my allotment. Beautiful flowers, absolutely incredible. And then under the ground, there's a tuber that's taken in nutrition, same as roots, that's taken in nutrition from the soil to produce that flower. But there's a period over the winter where there aren't any flowers because the tuber is accumulating energy.
Yeah. He's like, man, evolution is pretty cool. Anyway, this is why God allows kids to die from fucking leukemia. Okay, I don't know. This is like a drop in logic that I can't follow.
And then in the summer, that energy bursts forth and you get the beautiful flower. So evil is necessary.
Evil is necessary? It being cold outside isn't what evil is. Hello?
The tree isn't evil that it loses all its fruit.
No one fucking thinks evil is comparable to trees.
Next year it will have fruit again. It's time to go inward and go down into the soil.
This is a bad thought.
But as humans, we tend to think it should always be good.
There should be another person here with you to be like, nah, this doesn't make sense, man.
And you don't want to get attached to the barren, fruitless portion and worry about it because the fruit's coming back. So You might have...
The fruit might not necessarily come back. That's not true, though. It's all the evidence suggests that not necessarily will a tree fruit next season. It's like, come on, this isn't even close.
Of a relationship that was toxic or not good. In the beginning, it's very good, and you see the fruit, and then towards the end, you start seeing the fruit fall off the tree and
like your relationship with God ought to be if you had the guts to introspect on your religion the way you do about why he allows evil. Like, huh? God allowing evil is either pernicious or because of the lack and absence of a God. Like, you must really reconcile that. The problem of evil is the problem of an evil God. Go. It's actually great your kid died, actually, type B. I mean, yeah. You know, we can't appreciate the sunshine without a little rain. You know? The Christian apologists are not sending their best. I mean, he just brought himself. He wasn't sent.
It's more and more barren. And then you're basically mourning a relationship, and you wonder why God was so harsh to give you this.
Why God was so harsh to give you? You do? You wonder that? This is fucking broken your brain. God, you just met somebody and tried to have a relationship and it didn't work. What are you blaming God for? Introspect on your own actions. This is so fucking abysmal for people. Eric C., give one to Electric Brain. Thank you.
But it's so you learn. And I've had this. I spoke in a previous video about my chainsaw accident. It was one of the worst things to happen to me, and also one of the best, because off the back of it I learned a lot of lessons and had some beautiful life experiences. And that's the same. The apple tree produces beautiful apples in the summer, and it's not that nothing's going on in the winter. So that toxic relationship might have taught you some signs to look out for, so you don't end up in another toxic relationship like that. And then you end up finding somebody that doesn't exhibit those traits, and it was the best thing that ever happened to you, because had you not had that relationship, you wouldn't know what to look for, and you wouldn't be with your spouse or the person that you're with that's a complementary reciprocal to you. So
it must be really hard to be a Christian and have human relationships, because you can't put them into, real terms in your head. You're like, oh, well, God must have a plan here. This hardship must be a cosmic occurrence. So what if you don't survive? What lesson do you learn then? Don't get cancer, kid. Simply don't get it.
Another example is, if you've got a gemstone, you take it out the ground and you want to polish it up so it's a beautiful stone. When it comes out the ground, it is kind of shiny already because the stone was formed under pressure. But to make it perfectly round, you have to sand it back. You take sandpaper very aggressively, or even a saw, and start chopping this gemstone, and it looks worse before it gets better. Then you use finer and finer sandpaper.
He keeps trying out metaphors and they're not really sticking.
Then you apply polish, and it's a lot better than when it started.
It's a lot better than when it started? Here's a test of faith. Are you saying that the diamonds that God puts in the ground are inferior to the diamonds that man makes them into? Hey, some fucking thin ice there, buddy. Some fucking thin ice.
And I've restored cars. I'm giving you about a million different analogies here, but I've restored cars in the past and doing the paintwork. It kind of looks all right. If you're repairing paint, it kind of looks all right, but there's a bit of a dent or a scratch. But you have to sand it back, and it looks terrible. And I don't like that process. And in being attached to the kind of half nice looking car, you could forfeit the better version. So you've got a car with one scratch. You have to sand back the whole...
He is repeating himself a lot, and as a smart guy, I think, at least a little bit, with ADHD, it's really frustrating to listen to.
Whole panel. So one scratch is kind of tolerable. Sanding the whole panel, oh, it looks terrible. Then you apply the filler and the paint and the lacquer, and it looks amazing. It looks immaculate. But had you have gone, well, I don't want it to get worse. I don't want the apple tree to lose its fruit. Well, the apple tree is going to...
We're back to the apple tree. Okay. We're going to wobble around, and we're gonna land on something by the end of this 10 minutes.
Going to die. If it produced fruit all year round, you forced it to produce apples in the winter, you've got a dead apple tree. You know, within 2 seasons, it's got no energy left. So I would say that is why God allows evil. These things, I mean, from our perspective, they're evil, but God has a plan and it's not evil. And
God has a plan and it's not evil. There we go. That's a presupposition, isn't it? So if all the things that happen seem to be evil, so I don't think that the evidence does not suggest that your God's plan is benevolent whatsoever.
you only see that. You say, well, you've put this toxic person in my life. How is that not evil?
What? Did you have a bad breakup or something? Like what?
What lessons can you learn, and what does the next phase look like after that?
Yeah, hopefully it's one with more thinking involved and less God.
So in the Witchhammer book, the permission of God. Why would God give permission? Try and ponder on that. And then later on in the book, it says, it kind of just mentions that all of this is for the perfection of the universe.
The perfection of the universe. Here's a fucking question then. If the purpose is to make a perfect universe, why did God create the universe imperfectly? Was God so fallible that he couldn't do it? Explain the intentional imperfection of the universe. You've walked yourself into a fucking conundrum, dog. You don't know how to think. Your God is illogical. If God can't create a perfect universe, then how can you be sure that he has a good plan? Like, it doesn't even make sense. How can you be sure on faith and no evidence that the plan is good if he's so fallible that he didn't do a good job the first time and introduced evil and hell and Satan and demons into the world? Like, hello? Christians get too fucking high up on their idea of what God ought to be. It makes them, like, if they pulled off the gas a little bit on how perfect and wonderful their God is supposed to be, it would be a little bit harder to disprove its existence, because it's like, you know, you can allow for an absent, semi-pernicious God, a trickster God that hides the evidence and puts dinosaur bones in place of it. You know what I mean? He's hiding evidence of the global flood. Okay. But why do you worship that thing anyway?
And I just think back to try and do this. Jot down on a notepad the 5 most terrible, evil things that have happened in your life.
Okay, kids dying is, like, pretty bad.
When I do that, they're actually all really positive. They're some of the best things that have happened to me.
Oh, cool. So talk about dead kids and try to explain that away. Go for it.
But at the time, I wouldn't have known. Like, I don't want to sand the door back when there's just a single scratch.
One of the worst things that ever happened to me was an unsanded door.
Because I think it's okay. But in reality, there's something much better to come. So what I would say is, if you're in the season of your life where the apple tree is bearing fruit, you're in a summer and you've got abundance, enjoy it, be grateful for it. But know that inevitably at some point, that tree is going to drop its fruit, and that's not a bad thing. It's just part of the cycles.
You're not a tree, man. What the fuck are you talking about? I got multiple sclerosis at 16, brother. What do you mean? Yeah, fuck this guy. I mean, this is just like, I mean, not even really fuck this guy. Fuck the bullshit in this guy's head. Because he doesn't seem like an evil person. He doesn't seem like a bad person, necessarily. He has dumb thoughts.
And likewise, if you're in the winter, you're in the barren part where there's no apples and you're looking around going,
sheesh, man,
my life is fruitless.
Just fucking retreading
Don't get
this.
attached to that barren tree, because
could have been
soon
4 minutes long.
It's going to start sprouting new leaves, and then fruit will come. And just in terms of miracles, because sometimes miracles are quite abstract. I was mentioning this to my friends like a year ago. If you look at the trees now, while they're barren and they're just like sticks, they basically look dead. If you want a miracle, think of an apple tree. If you look at the branch, it's like a thin branch. Well, out of that branch comes a full apple.
Yeah. What?
That's miraculous that would come out of that. That's like me.
What? Does he think that the apples travel from the trunk? Like it makes apples like babies in its tree womb, and it travels down the branches into the tips, and now you got apples. Oh, why is he so... Yeah, I think you could, you know what, if you're this blown away by thinking about what apple trees do, what if you actually fucking learned about how apple trees work? And then you'd be even more blown away. What if you actually fucking engage with reality a little? And, you're in awe of nature. How about fucking learning about it?
Driving a double-decker bus out of a single-car garage. It's impossible. If you look at the size of a single-car garage and the size of the bus, that would be a miracle. And that happens all over. Like, at the moment, the leaves are off the trees and everything's in its winter phase. The fact that branch that looks dead is going to have a leaf this big on it.
Yeah.
That's miraculous to me.
Just fucking read a book. Go watch Bill Nye. Huh? It's not a miracle. It's cool as shit. It's not a miracle. We know why these things happen. Come on. Please, I am begging Christians to read about stuff that isn't God. I promise you, the world is so much more interesting than going, wow, how apples work. Like, God. Jadis, thanks for giving a Froz Moss friend.
So, I hope that helps. Don't get identified with the barren, fruitless part if that's where you are, because, God has a plan. You may not understand it, but it will become clear to you in hindsight. Hope that helps. Speak to you tomorrow.
Okay. I would like to talk to a guy like this. I don't think he's really thought about the topic. Wow. I wish Christians could think about the topic better. Eating apple fetuses isn't very Christian. That's true. There is something wrong with the Christian apologist, though.